With the coming of the new year, I thought it would be a good idea to go over how to create a new Greyhawk campaign in 2025. Today on Greyhawk Grognard. So I'm going to break this into three parts. The first part is going to be system neutral. It's going to just deal with in-campaign questions, of what you need to do and all that good stuff. And then there's going to be an OSR section, and then there's going to be a 5e section. So for folks who are into either one, you'll hopefully be able to get something out of it. That said, here we go. So from the perspective of just the campaign setting itself, setting aside mechanical things, which we'll get to in a bit. There are several very fundamental questions that you need to ask yourself as a DM if you're going to be starting a new campaign in Greyhawk. And the first of these is, what time period do you want? There are several main contenders, and they've kind of changed over the years, whichever is the default. Um, the setting uses the common year (CY) as kind of a baseline calendar system. There are others that elves have one and the Backloonish have one, but the main calendar that everybody uses is the common year. And when the setting was originally published back in 1980, it was CY 576, and then Gygax kind of carried this forward a couple years into 577 and 578 through a series of uh, articles in Dragon Magazine, the events of the Flyness, and where he described, like, this army is moving here, and this weird thing happened over here, and so on. So almost from the get-go, it was the setting kind of creeped forward a little bit to give it some life and verisimilitude. But basically, everybody refers to this as 576. This is the time frame that was where everything is kind of in balance with each other, right? There's evil is kind of ascending, but good has struck it many blows, so good and evil are kind of in parity, and it could go either way as to which one comes out on top. And one of the things that's important to remember in the Greyhawk campaign is that there are forces actively working for neutrality, so that they don't want to see good and law dominate the Flyness any more than they want to see evil and chaos. So if one does become ascendant, those forces of neutrality, which include the Druids and the Mordenkainen and all these people, will kind of help the wheel turn and and put the knock them down a bit. So that's the one thing. That's where a lot of the famous early modules are set in that era. Where there's just this strategic tension everywhere. The next one is CY 585. This is the From the Ashes era. This is the From the Ashes box set that came out. There's just been a devastating series of wars throughout the Flyness. Giants have overrun entire countries off to the southwest. The Great Kingdom, which is the big kingdom in the east, has been defeated and shattered into a number of different sub realms. The good nations and the evil nations, for that matter, have been exhausted by the war. Ayuz, the evil demigod, is ascendant across the northern Flyness. He has this huge empire. So this is a time frame when evil is ascendant, and it is a time when good heroes can make a mark for themselves and beat back the tide of evil. So if that's the kind of campaign you want to run, that is a very good time to do that. The next major time period we have is CY 591. This is the adventure begins era, sort of. This is a lot of the Living Greyhawk was set around before and around this time. So this is a sort of a return to the earlier state of affairs where things were more in balance, because evil has been beaten back somewhat, but they're still obviously there. Like the Scarlet Brotherhood isn't nearly as powerful as it was, but it's still more powerful than it was in 576. The Great Kingdom is still fragmented, but those fragments are starting to coalesce and become more stable in and of themselves. Ayuz's forces are kind of pushed back in a few places. So it's good is is rebounding a little in this era. It still doesn't look good, overall, but it's definitely an improvement over the 585 era. So those are the three main choices you have when it comes to the time setting for your campaign. Um, the next consideration is where you want to have your campaign. And this is somewhat tied into the first question, but the obvious best place to start a campaign is right in the center of the map. And that map behind me here. You see that big blue lake there? That's the near dive. That's the Lake of Unknown Depths. The city of Greyhawk is right there. Castle Greyhawk is right there. You've got the Wild Coast within easy distance. You've got desert. You've got the village of Hamlet and the Temple of Elemental Evil. A lot of stuff is going around in that particular area. So the Central Flness, if you're looking for kind of a generic start zone, that's the best place to do it because there's a lot of geographical diversity. There's a lot of pre-published adventures that are set there. There's a lot happening there, but that doesn't have to be your only place. There are plenty of other locations that would make great starting areas for a campaign. Like we said, the Great Kingdom in the East had fragmented. So there's a lot going on there. If you want to have a campaign that's more focused on warfare and intrigue and that kind of thing, then setting it maybe in the Great Kingdom or in the Iron League, which is the nations to the south of the Great Kingdom, of the former Great Kingdom. That's a great place to have that kind of a campaign setting because even before the wars in the 576 era, there's like armies moving around, and there's wars and rumors of wars and things like that. And of course during the wars and after the wars, it's a wide open, rollicking. Lawless place, and then it starts to get more stable, but there's still a lot going on there. So the Great Kingdom or the Iron League in the southeast of the Flness it would be a good place to start. Recently, I did a video on Ratic, which is right here on the map behind me. If you can see, that's kind of in the northeast. That's if you it's kind of a pocket of civilization surrounded by humanoids and barbarians and monsters and so forth. So if you want to have that kind of that isolated feel of a nation besieged on all sides, where the PCs can go out and they can hit monsters and they can hit mountains and they can hit forests, and there could be barbarian attacks and there could be humanoid attacks. There's plenty of that kind of thing to go in there. Plus, there's these enormous mountain ranges where you can throw in all kinds of dungeons if that's what you're looking to do. Um, I've always been fond of High Folk, which is off this map. Uh, it is a little valley to the south of this big forest here, the Vesve Forest, and it's kind of an elven, half elven realm sort of place. It's a very small place, but it has access to a lot of very interesting places. It is adjacent to the Yattl mountain range, which is where the Lost Caverns of Sojkonthar and the Lost Temple of Tharizdun. You have Ayus not too far away. You have the Vesve Forest, where a lot of low level warfare is going on between Ayus and the forces of Furiondi and Valuna and the woodsmen and high folk and so forth. So again a lot going on, and it's a very good place because there's a lot of geographical diversity of the mountains. You have the hills, you have the forest all right there. So that would be my next thing. And the other consideration, if you want to fight giants, go to the southwest. Depending on the era that you've chosen, you're either going to be able to fight giants as they attack civilization, or try to drive the giants out of where they have conquered. So yeah, that if you're looking for a combat-heavy anti-giant kind of campaign, the southwest the corner of Greyhawk, which is called the Sheldamar Valley, that's where Tailland is, and the Grand Duchy of Joff, and so forth. That is a really great place. So those would be my main choices. Again, probably in order. I would do the center right there. Have your party come to the city of Greyhawk for the first time. That way you can have a whole bunch of adventures in the city as they get to know the place and the people. And then there's Greyhawk ruins right there, and you can take them to the Wild Coast. You can take them to the Temple of Elemental Evil, all kinds of things. Hi, everybody. Please help me keep Greyhawk alive by liking this video and subscribing. It really does help. You can also become a member of the channel or support me on Patreon and get early access to my videos, exclusive content, free or at-cost copies of my Greyheim Adventures modules, and more. Thanks, and now back to the show. Now, I'm not going to get into the general things you need to know to set up a D&D campaign, right? There's plenty of videos out there. I might do one that's more generic myself, but the usual things will apply, right? You need to figure out if you want to have a big story. I personally prefer kind of a sandbox approach where the PCs have lots of threads that they can pull on and follow. But I know a lot of other DMs like to have a set story, and they know what's going to happen at all the major plot points and so forth. Which personal preference. But those kinds of things still apply to Greyhawk too. You're going to want to know, how powerful do you want to start your players off, and how powerful you intend them to end. Some people don't always want to start off on level one. All those kinds of considerations are apply to Greyhawk as well as they do to anything else. So in that sense, Greyhawk is just like any other campaign where you need to worry about story and plot and so forth. But one of the things that you can do is if you do want to have a story involved in there, uh, and you want to have a big bad guy, a big protagonist or antagonist, I can never keep those straight, um, is that you can tie it into the setting by having one of the major NPCs fill that role, right? And there's a bunch of big bad guys that you can use as villains. I've gone through some of them in previous videos, but you have like obviously I use the evil, who's the evil demigod, Zambian in the north. He's that's a worthy opponent. There's the Scarlet Brotherhood if you want a whole organization as an enemy. There's the Horn Society, which is one of my favorites. Even though it gets destroyed in the wars, it comes back as a secret society, which is, in my opinion, even better than before. You can have Igwilv, the Witch Queen. You can have Eclavdra Ileserves, who is the Drow lady, who is uh, the major villain in the Giants and the Vault of the Drow and so forth adventures, and then has a career that goes on after that, taking her in all kinds of directions. Um, so there are you might want to choose a great and um, really iconic Greyhawk villain to be the big bad guy. And one of the things about Greyhawk is there's always somebody behind the villain, right? So you just to take one example, in the steading of the Hill Giant Chief, you think you're going out there to just stop the Hill Giants, but no, the Hill Giants are actually working with other giants. So you kind of go up the chain, but no, then the Fire Giants, they aren't behind it all because they've got the Drow behind them. So there's always layers of the onion you can unpeel, and structuring your story like that is going to really help make it feel more Greyhawkian. So so there we go. Those are the in campaign considerations that I think are important when starting a campaign. And now let's move on. Now, obviously, Greyhawk has been around for a long, long time. It was originally published in 1980, although the setting goes back even further, obviously, with Gygax's home campaign, and there were a lot of mentions in Dragon Magazine here and there, and other magazines and newsletters and so forth. So it's been around forever. But the one resource I would say that everybody who's running uh, either an old school or, for that matter, a 5e game is the gold box, right? This is the second setting that the second version of the published setting. The first was the folio, which had just uh, the descriptions of the countries and the history and so forth, and the big, beautiful Darlene maps, of course. This expands that out a little bit. The guide to the world of Greyhawk is essentially the material that was in the um, folio, and then it adds a glossography, which has more details. They add in some of the gods. Well, they add in lists of all the gods, and then details on some of the gods. They have encounter tables, and of course the maps are still there. So either whatever era you're running this in, I would say this is probably a good resource to have, regardless of whether you're running it in 585 or 591. This is just a great baseline to have for any Greyhawk campaign. And there's a reason so many are set in the 576 era. Now, another thing I would recommend. Um, depending on where you set your game, where physically. If you do go with the central finesse, I say you should get the City of Greyhawk box set. This is available. The old box is available as a PDF on DM's Guild. The um, City of Greyhawk is available as PDF or as a print on demand, which is cool on DM's Guild Drive Through. So I would definitely recommend this. This is a great resource. And if you're in the central finesse, I would also say you probably want to have Greyhawk Ruins, possibly Expedition to to Greyhawk Ruins. And if you're going to be looping in any of the famous adventures, like um, the Slavers or Temple of Elemental Evil or Ghost Tower of Inverness or any, there are a lot. Pick those up as needed. And same thing if you're going in the Southwest to fight giants, you're going to want to have the Giants, the Against the Giants series in their various incarnations. I did a whole video on how they changed all those things up. So get adventures that are appropriate for wherever you are placing it. But as a general rule, get that gold box. If you're setting your game in the 585 era, you'll want to get a copy of From the Ashes, again available as a PDF on Drive-Through and DM's Guild. And if you're in the 591 era, you want to get Roger Moore's Adventure Begins. As you know, this is just a book, also available as print on demand and PDF. Um, there are a number of fan produced material. There's a bunch of fan produced material out there for the OSR version of Greyhawk. There's a lot. I've published a ton of stuff. My Greyheim Adventures series can easily fit into the world of Greyhawk. Um, Castle Entertainment has an enormous number of modules that can also be very, very easily put into the world of Greyhawk. Um, there's a bunch of stuff over on Dragon's Foot, the Len Lakofka series on the Spindrift Isles, which are in the southeast, which is part of Greyhawk. It's like a little mini campaign setting. There's all kinds of stuff out there. If you need a locator for all of the adventures and where they go, you go to cannonfire.com. I'll put a link below, and there they have a map like that, and where they pinpoint where all the different adventures are. That'll help you out. Those are the main things. Obviously there are a ton of OSR books out there that can apply to Greyhawk, either directly or indirectly. But those would be the main things. If you're just starting out, get a copy of the gold box, no matter where you are, and get those other boxes depending on when you choose to set your setting. So those are my recommendations OSR wise. Now, for the fifth edition stuff, and for all the OSR folks who really don't like fifth edition, just skip this part. This is not for you. Now, for fifth edition, the most obvious thing you're going to want to get is the new 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide. Right, this has a quick overview of the world of Greyhawk as an example of how to make a setting. It's also got a beautiful map, which you can now get online, by the way. The map. This will give you the overview that you need. It doesn't go into nearly as much depth as the old gold box does. You might want to pick that up just to get that background. And there are a couple of adventures for 5e that are set in the world of Greyhawk. Obviously they've done a ton of stuff with Salt Marsh. Um, I believe that's at least part of the Vecna series of adventures is set in Greyhawk. I might be mistaken with that because I'm not all that familiar with it. There's the Lost Laboratory of Qualish, which, although it has a couple of issues, is a fun adventure nonetheless. Uh, the the stuff that I'm really going to recommend, though, is the fan produced material. There is a lot there, and if you've been watching the channel at all, I've got a whole series of videos out there that review each and everything that the fan community has put out for 5e Greyhawk on DM's Guild. Go find that out on this channel, and you'll be able to see a plethora of stuff. I'm gonna toot my own horn here, and I've produced a Greyhawk campaign guide, which is soon to be in print. It is now available as a PDF. This gives you a complete overview of the setting. It also gives you some mechanical things, but it's mostly a lore-based book. Um, Most of the mechanical stuff is in my Greyhawk Player's Guide, which is available in print and PDF on DM's Guild. This gives you all the backgrounds and the feats and the subclasses and all that good stuff so that you can anchor your player characters in the setting. It has a number of wizard subclasses in particular, which are based on the famous archmages of the setting. So, there's like the School of Tensor and the School of Bigby and so forth, all based on their in-game personalities. So this is another thing. If you're, those two are probably should be on the very short list of stuff you want to get for a 5e campaign. There's also, I did the Cleric's Guide, and this basically lets you have a clerical sphere for every one of the gods of Greyhawk. So there's 70 different cleric spheres in here. Like there's the sphere of uh, Alatur and the sphere of Ayuz and sphere of Ironius and so forth, and they're all tailored to that particular deity. So if you want your clerics to really be anchored in the setting, that would be a great thing to have. There are other things. Obviously, I can't say that I'm the only only person out there doing it. There's a World of Greyhawk Gazetteer Revised, which was done by a whole committee of Greyhawk fans, which is very, very good stuff. Also available in print and PDF. There is just a ton of material out there. There's Greyhawk Expanded has done source books on the Northern Barbarians and on the Gloonish Kingdom and so forth. There's way too much material for me to cover in this one little video. Go to my reviews of those things, and you'll see just how much stuff is out there. But in terms of 5e, definitely get yourself a copy of the gold box. Even though it's for first edition, there's almost no the mechanical stuff in there. You can ignore that and just delve into the lore, which is fantastic. My personal recommendation is buy my books, but do check out DM's Guild. You can filter by Greyhawk in the lower left corner of the site, and that'll show you all the Greyhawk specific stuff that's out there. So for 5e, you're covered. And there we go. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you're looking to start a new Greyhawk campaign in the new year, just a quick overview, you got to figure out when you want to place your campaign, you got to figure out where you want to place your campaign, and you got to figure out which of the many villains you want to have featured in your campaign. And then depending on what system you're using, there are resources for old school games and there are resources for 5e. So good luck. I would love to hear how your efforts go if you do set up a new campaign this year, and you should, because Greyhawk is the best setting. Then please do let me know how it goes, and if you have any questions or anything, hit me up in the comments. Hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful day, and I will talk to you all later. Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.